I stood in the dimly lit hallway of Sunset Grove Nursing Home, watching my daughter Sarah's expensive designer heels click against the worn linoleum floor as she walked away. She didn't look back once. The manila envelope containing my reduced circumstances paperwork felt heavy in my trembling hands. Mom's just becoming too much of a burden, I had overheard her telling the facility administrator earlier. After Dad died in the market crash, she has nothing left. This is the best we can do. The best we can do. I almost laughed at the irony. This was the same daughter I had put through private school and Harvard Law School. The same one whose first house down payment I had covered. The same child I had given everything to. The nursing home room was small and sparse, with peeling wallpaper and a window that wouldn't fully close. A far cry from my previous life in our family estate. But I had known this day was coming. I had planned for it. Mrs. Anderson. A gentle voice interrupted my thoughts. It was Nancy, one of the kinder nurses. Would you like help unpacking? I smiled weakly, clutching my single suitcase. No thank you, dear. I can manage. As soon as she left, I pulled out my old flip phone. The one Sarah had mockingly called a dinosaur last Christmas when she gifted me a smartphone I never used. I dialed a number I knew by heart. Martin? It's Eleanor Anderson. Yes, they did exactly what we expected. It's time. Martin had been our family lawyer for 40 years. He was one of the few people who knew the truth. The real truth about the Anderson fortune. The safe, he asked. Yes, open it tomorrow, just like we planned. I could almost hear him smiling through the phone. With pleasure, Eleanor. I've been looking forward to this day. After hanging up, I sat on a thin mattress and pulled out an old photograph from my wallet. It showed a younger version of myself standing next to my late husband James. Both of us beaming in front of our first investment property. That was before the tech boom, before James's innovations changed the industry, before we became one of the wealthiest families in the state. But Sarah never knew about most of it. We had raised her to value hard work, to earn her own way. Unfortunately, somewhere along the line, she had learned the wrong lessons. The more successful she became as a corporate lawyer, the more she looked down on what she perceived as our simple lifestyle. When James died last year, I played along with her assumption that the market crash had wiped out our fortune. I let her believe I had lost everything. I watched as her visits became shorter, her calls more infrequent, her tone more condescending. Mom, you really should have invested better, she lectured me last week. Now look where you ended up. If only she knew about the hidden safe in James' old study. The safe that contained not just documents, but the truth about the Anderson technology empire. The empire that was still very much intact, carefully hidden in offshore accounts and shell corporations. James and I had built everything from nothing. We knew the value of money, but more importantly, we knew the value of character. We had hoped Sarah would learn the same. This was our final test, and she had failed spectacularly. Looking around my shabby new room, I felt a strange sense of peace. Tomorrow, Martin would open the safe in the presence of the estate executor. Tomorrow, Sarah would learn that her mother wasn't destitute at all. Tomorrow, she would discover that the Anderson fortune, all $4.8 billion of it, was being donated in its entirety to educational charities for underprivileged children. All except for one small trust fund set aside for any grandchildren Sarah might have in the future. Because despite everything, I still hoped the next generation might learn the lessons she hadn't. I pulled out a pen and paper, beginning to write. Dear Sarah, by the time you read this, the sun was setting outside my window, casting long shadows across the room. Somewhere down the hall, I could hear other residents chatting and laughing. This wasn't the life Sarah thought she was condemning me to. This was the life I had chosen. A chance to live simply again. To maybe make a difference in the lives of other residents here who truly had no one. And tomorrow, everything would change. The next morning, chaos erupted exactly as I had anticipated. I was calmly sipping my mediocre nursing home coffee when my phone buzzed with notifications. Sarah's name flashed across the screen repeatedly, along with dozens of messages from reporters. But it was Martin's text that made me smile. Safe opened. Documents revealed. She's here now. Quite a show. I could picture the scene perfectly in my mind. Sarah, probably wearing one of her power suits, standing in her father's study as Martin opened the safe she'd never known existed. The look on her face as she realized the truth about her poor parents. The first document would have been the holdings list: tech companies across 3 continents, real estate portfolios, patents that still generated millions annually. The second would have been the recent bank statements, and the third, my personal favorite, would have been the charity directive signed and notarized last year. My phone rang again. This time I answered. "How could you do this to me?" Sarah's voice was shrill, unrecognizable. $4 billion? You're giving away $4 billion? 4.8 actually, I corrected calmly. The market's been quite good lately. But I'm your daughter, your only child. You can't just give everything away. Actually, I can. Your father and I earned every penny of it. We can choose what to do with it. But you let me believe you were poor. You let me think. I let you show me who you really are, I interrupted, my voice firm. And you showed me quite clearly yesterday. The line went quiet for a moment. I could hear her breathing, probably trying to compose herself like she did in court. "Mom," she said finally, her voice honeyed now. "We can fix this. I'm sure the paperwork isn't final. I'll come pick you up right now. You can stay in our guest house." "The same guest house you said was too good for me yesterday." I asked quietly. "No thank you, dear. I'm quite comfortable where I am." "Comfortable? It's a dump. I only put you there because I thought." "Because you thought I was worth nothing without money," I finished for her. "That's exactly the problem, Sarah. That's why every penny is going to help children who understand the value of education and opportunity better than you ever did." I heard what sounded like papers being thrown. "The press is already calling. Do you know how this makes me look? My own mother in a cheap nursing home while giving away billions. It makes you look exactly like who you are," I replied. "And maybe that's the best lesson I could give you." "I'll contest it," she threatened. "I'll hire the best lawyers." "You can try," I said. "But your father and I had 40 years to make this airtight. Martin made sure of that. The only money you'll ever see from us is the trust fund for any children you might have. And that comes with conditions about character and education that I suspect you won't like." Another long pause. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller, almost like a little girl who used to come running to me with skinned knees and broken toys. "Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I was just frustrated, and—" "No, Sarah. You meant every word, every action. And that's okay. It showed me exactly where this money should go, to people who understand its true value." "What am I supposed to do now?" she whispered. "That's up to you. You can keep being the person who abandoned her mother at a nursing home, or you can become someone better. The choice was always yours." I ended the call and turned to look out my window. Below, I could see some residents in the garden, elderly couples walking hand in hand, others being helped by caring staff members. I had already spoken to the administrator about making an anonymous donation to upgrade the facility. Not enough to make it luxury, but enough to make it comfortable for everyone. Sarah would eventually learn that money wasn't everything. Or she wouldn't. But I had finally done what I should have done years ago. Shown her that actions have consequences and character matters more than cash. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Martin. "Phase 2 ready when you are." I smiled. Sarah had no idea that this was just the beginning. 3 months passed at Sunset Grove, and life took on a rhythm I hadn't expected to enjoy. The facility had mysteriously received upgrades: better beds, renovated common areas, and a new garden where I spent most mornings. None of the residents knew I was behind the changes, and I preferred it that way. Sarah had tried everything: legal challenges, media sympathy, even attempted reconciliation. But each move revealed more of her true character. When the press asked why she'd abandoned her billionaire mother in a nursing home, her fumbling responses only made things worse. Then came the day of the first scholarship announcements. 5,000 underprivileged students would receive full rides to college, complete with living expenses and mentorship programs. The Anderson Education Initiative, they called it. Martin had arranged for the ceremony to be held in the city's largest auditorium. I watched the live stream from my room, smiling as tearful students and their families took the stage. Each had a story of determination, of fighting against odds, of valuing education above all else. These were the kind of people James and I had been before our success. Hungry for knowledge, eager to make a difference. My phone buzzed. Sarah's name appeared, but this time, the message was different. "I saw the ceremony. I finally understand. Can we talk?" I invited her to come to Sunset Grove the next day. When she arrived, she wasn't wearing her usual power suit. Instead, she was in simple jeans and a sweater, looking more like the daughter I remembered. "You look different," I observed as she sat beside me in the garden. "I feel different," she admitted. "I've been doing a lot of thinking. Watching those students today, it reminded me of the stories you used to tell about you and Dad. How you started with nothing." I nodded, waiting. "I forgot all that," she continued. "I got so caught up in status and showing off, in being the successful daughter of supposedly failed parents, I became exactly what you and Dad tried to prevent." "Recognition is the first step," I said quietly. "I've been volunteering at a local education center," she said, "teaching law basics to high school students. It's actually fulfilling. More than corporate law ever was." For the first time in months, I saw a glimmer of the daughter I'd raised. "Your father would be proud to hear that." "I'm sorry, Ma, not just for the nursing home, but for everything before that. For becoming someone you had to teach a lesson to." I reached over and took her hand. "The lesson wasn't about punishment, Sarah. It was about legacy. Your father and I didn't build our fortune to create a privileged care. We built it to make a difference." "I understand that now," she said, tears in her eyes. "And I want to help. Not with the money. I know that's gone, and I'm okay with that. But maybe I could work with the foundation, use my legal experience to help set up more scholarship programs." I smiled, pulling out an envelope I'd been keeping for this moment. "Martin helped me draw up some papers. If you're serious, there's a position waiting for you. Director of Legal Advocacy for the Anderson Education Initiative. But it comes with conditions." "What conditions?" "You'll be working directly with scholarship recipients, living on a normal salary, no special treatment. Think you can handle that?" She squeezed my hand. "I'd like to try." That evening after Sarah left, I called Martin. "Phase 3, I said simply. "Are you sure?" he asked. "The change seems genuine, but James always believed in second chances," I replied. "Let's see what she does with hers." The next day, a small trust was established in Sarah's name. Not enough to make her wealthy, but enough to help her do good work. The conditions were strict. The money could only be used for educational advocacy and community development. As I sat in my garden watching the sunset, I thought about legacy. Not the billions we'd given away, but the lessons we taught. Sarah was learning. The scholarship students were thriving. And somewhere, I knew James was smiling. My simple room at Sunset Grove didn't feel like a punishment anymore. It felt like exactly where I needed to be, watching good things grow from what we built, one student, one life, one lesson at a time. And Sarah? She was finally becoming the daughter we'd always hoped she'd be. Sometimes, losing everything is the only way to